Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. The topic of dev stream reviews, or I guess commentary on a dev stream. So obviously this is late to the party for the YouTube meta, if you will, for making comedy skits or like reviews, but this isn't something that I would normally do. Because most of the time I'm trying to post like a build, answer questions for people in the clan. But I guess I'll take this to a more meta level after doing the review for the dev stream itself. I found on Reddit a pretty all-encompassing recap that was done by one of the, I guess, mods or something. And it's pretty basic. I'll just go down the list. I'll come back to the new crew in a second. Veilbreaker, good in theory. I like what it is. It was sort of what was implied during the new war, having majors or sergeants or whatever you call it in the enemy army that remained pop up every now and then. I was kind of hoping this would maybe be a toggleable star chart, if you will, where instead of having like the same star chart, or like, I don't know, whatever the game mode is, where it's a sortie 2.0, if you will. Um, but hey, progress is progress. I like the idea of the shards that you get. Can definitely help out players once you get a full set of the Tau forged ones. I could see this drastically changing builds, especially builds that have like, I know it's going to help out my builds. It will allow me to take primed flow off. I could see that being a very meta change. There was stuff like armor, health regen. Here's the example they gave: health, shield capacity, energy max, armor, health regenerated per second. I could see energy max being the default. Eventually, the meta will show up where somebody will figure out, maybe it'll be me, it'll probably be somebody else, will figure out an optimum build once a bunch of archon shards are, you have a bunch of them. But I think for the first couple of months, it's literally going to be whatever you can get your hands on. But okay, let's just go down the list. Kahl, if you've played the new war, spoilers to anybody who hasn't played the new war, even though that's sort of getting tiring to say. Everything in this is spoilers. It's unreleased content, so if you don't want to watch it, there's your warning. Kahl is going to be in the drifter camp, which is kind of funny because after playing the new war, I was distinctly under the impression this motherfucker died. He's another NPC. You can customize him. To be honest, this is kind of whatever to me. I mean, I'm going to get everything and farm it up, but this is kind of whatever. Eye patches. Eye patches are cool. You can play him, I guess. He has a jetpack when you control him. Command your Grenier brothers. That could be pretty cool for like gameplay wise, especially if you can deck them out and equip them. They didn't really go into that in the stream at all. But if you can actually start setting up, and like, maybe if they make this something for like each of the factions, where maybe it has stuff for like the invasions and whatnot, where maybe you can have a more direct effect on everything, I could see this being pretty cool, or at least a good addition to the plethora of things to grind in Warframe. Especially if you can start like customizing your own star chart, if you will, with like invasions. But okay, so you have Sorties 2.0 was sort of how it was presented. Archon hunts, 3-stage, higher tier, sortie effectively. Has arbitration bonuses, uh, which I guess is cool. With additional restrictions, you get the Archon shards. I could see people making a ridiculous amount of plat carrying people through this. I know I'm going to have to be carrying people through this in my clan. Some of the other clans are probably going to be pretty solid on this, but I know doing this when it comes out is going to be the new thing to do. But if you do hour plus content in like survivals or disruptions or whatever, any of the endless game modes, you're not going to have an issue with this. There's obviously going to be cheese builds that are figured out. Once people figure out the mechanics, there's going to be a bunch of people ruining the fun, talking about like the mechanics of each fight. I would highly suggest to anybody that is going to be playing this day one to absolutely not look up YouTube builds for this. Figure it out yourself the first time, then see if somebody figured out something else, because with all the Steel Path bosses having cheese builds for all of them, I mean, the Revenant Thrall build on the Deimos boss is pretty legendary at this point. Literally causes the guy to kill himself. But just play through it once. This is a cool new addition. If they are actively tuning this, I could see this becoming fun. Like if somebody is intentionally adjusting this for difficulty, like these levels start going up based on how successful you were in your prior one, I don't think they're going to do that. There's no reason to believe it. But if this starts getting adjusted based on how strong you are as a player, I could see this being ridiculously fun. Okay, 3 missions with final being Archon Showdown. Co-op revives only. That's a pretty interesting idea. If people want to do it solo, sort of like an arbitration. If you die, you're dead. Restricted consumables. Okay. New mechanics for the Archon fights. They really didn't go too much into that. Guaranteed reward, Archon Shard. That's the new scaling. Can be used at Helmet. Every frame is 5 Archon Shards. Okay. Their screen's in the way. There's a 5th one. And you have red, yellow, blue. Offense, defense, utility, and the upgraded variants. So I guess technically 6, maybe. Yeah, red's offensive, yellow's utility, blue's defense. Okay, shards are not locked into a slot, can be moved to other frames. That's going to help out when you first start doing this. Obviously, if you have a favorite frame, you need 5 and you need the Archon versions, right? It takes some resources to move. That's whatever. Another resource sink. Additional sources in addition to Archon hunts. That's pretty cool. Help you farm faster, but as with most things, this is going to be a farm until you have enough. And then once you have enough, you're done doing it. So it's essentially single pass. Obviously, if you want to have a build for every single frame, your I'm done farm level is significantly higher. But if you have like a single frame that you play, I know I'm probably going to be doing Nezha first, then Harrow, Nidus, and probably a Trinity after that. So once I do those, it's going to be passive. General info in addition, small quest introduce players to new systems. That's pretty normal. Augment buffs, cool. 4 new void shell skins. Okay. New void shell materials, that'll be farmed up quickly. New ephemera, that's neat. The new deluxe bundle. The frame looks gorgeous. Listen, whoever designs these, give them a raise or whatever the hell you need to do. Because the person that designs these deluxe frames, Jesus, they do such a good job. Tonkor plus throwing bomb skin, cool. New tech for feathers, I guess that applies to her collar, that's pretty cool. We'll see how that impacts like performance, if it's a lot of detail. Rest in peace, you know, cheapo laptop users. Listen, nothing wrong with that. I was there one time. I'm not doing that right now, but I understand the struggle. The biggest thing, and this was massive, and I'm surprised they didn't talk about this more. There is no way they don't adjust this. All values are based on original armor value. Applying minus 50% armor twice will fully strip armor, and some changes buffs to armor stripping abilities. There is absolutely no way they don't adjust this. So enjoy this while this lasts. Because this basically means if you're running corrosive heat, you strip armor instantly. Like, heat is a 50% armor strip on its own over 2 seconds. If you can apply heat and 10 stacks of corrosive to something, their armor's gone. There's no way they don't fucking change this. If they leave it in, I hope they scale the enemies accordingly. That's pretty cool. For those that are newish to Warframe and don't remember corrosive completely stripping armor, because it's been a couple years now, corrosive used to be able to completely strip armor. It's nice to see this brought back. Like, they specifically mentioned, what was it? Oberon. It's part of a old melee status setup. Those sorts of abilities. Like the same with Mag. And like Ember, these were really core parts of old Warframe builds. And weapon builds, was completely stripping armor. Like, this is back when, like, what Tigress Prime was king. Is you would run as much alpha damage as possible, crit chance, crit damage, with 100% status chance on shotguns, and you would alpha them basically by applying so much status to them. Every bullet would come all the way around. So now, where you have like 10 status percent or 10 status percent chance per pellet. It used to be it was a grouped status chance. And say you had 10 pellets, it didn't break it down per pellet like it does now. It was just a flat single status percent chance. So if you hit 100% status on a corrosive weapon, all of a sudden every pellet was doing was a guaranteed status proc. So you would just run around and try to alpha shit for all of its armor off in one hit, and you would one-shot stuff. I'm not mad if that gets added back in the game. It was kind of fun. But I would be looking for this to get tuned almost instantly. If the way they explained it, if this gets left in the game the way it is, nothing is going to have armor in the game. Because what would it be? 4 corrosive projections? 3 corrosive projections, and whatever that drift mod is would give you 50% shred, and a heat proc would strip armor. So I could see this getting tuned almost instantly, or them playing with the numbers on this on how it gets set up, and this ends up being a nerf. Because I know on my channel, I've shown like 99% armor strip builds, where I then use 10 stacks of corrosive and heat to, like, quote unquote hyper buff corrosive and heat damage, I could see this being taken away. So I don't know. I'm really interested to see how this this gets applied, because it could either make the game really fun and absolutely blow up the amount of viable builds, or they could end up destroying this and making it significantly harder to strip armor, where you would actually have to use abilities and corrosive to be able to strip armor and get 100% strip. But we'll see. Obviously, we don't know exactly what they're going to do yet. Next one is teleporter speed from orbiter to landing craft, and the drifter camp has been increased. That's cool. Syndicate pledges. This is pretty basic. You don't need to equip a sigil anymore. Anybody who cares about like fashion framing, congrats. Bonus standing on your rank. I wonder how strong that's going to be. Honestly, I mean, it in theory, this shouldn't affect your standing grind, right? But we'll see how that plays out. Gilding changes. Modular gear will have gilded stats from the very beginning. Gilding is only required for mastery, as it should have been. That's fine. Positive change. Everybody liked that. Starter Warframe reworks. Base stats increase, but growth lowered. Same max rank stats. Okay, just balancing. That's cool. Excal, slash dash. More oomphy. This could potentially be busted. Radial Javelin got a massive buff. This is huge. Slash dash for slash proc. This could be really fun now. I forget exactly, because it's never really been a build anybody went in terms of like late game setups. But if you can hit like 100k slash, I could see a one build on Excalibur being completely endgame viable. Radial Javelin, removed enemy cap, that's the big thing, and a slash proc on hit. Man, I don't know. This could be broken also. Volt, what a meme. Shock now costs 15 energy. That's positive. That's straight up energy efficiency. A speed buff, strength plus duration. Man. Okay, for all the homies that don't know, if you do a backflip for the meme that this is about to be, okay, just so you know, for those that don't, if you get hit with a max strength duration volt speed up, if you are going forward and you're running forward, and then you backflip backwards, it will get rid of the buff. Okay? You do have the ability to get rid of that buff. There you go. Shield no longer drains extra energy, slows you down, or I'm guessing that's limits you to your secondary one picked up. Neat, that's cool. That could be pretty good for like solo play, especially being able to use primaries, which we'll get to in a bit. Mag pull, I might cry about this one as part of my helmet for a lot of my farming builds. Enemies are pulled into a vortex in front of you instead of flying past you. Subsumed version is reduced. Man, it depends on what the reduction is. If it's range, I might cry. Polarized shards now hover around you and deal damage to enemies that come too close. That's cool. I don't think they're going to adjust the scaling on it. Not that it was a big deal. Like, I just don't see this being game breaking. Rivens, this is fantastic for me. If you're one of the homies that are in the situation where you're riven capped. Like, I am at 181 out of 180. 181 out of 180 rivens. And I think my only duplicate is I have a pair of Venka rivens. So, like, I'm not going to be getting rid of those. One's for a corrosive build. It literally has corrosive on the riven, plus crit damage, and the other one is pure crit chance, crit damage. Like, it's a really strong 2 stat and a decent 3 stat. Like a +3, a decent +2. But I'm not going to be able to do sorties either, because I'm going to have to get rid of a riven. But this is overall fantastic for stockpiling. Because I guess they figured out they were trying to get people to spend riven shards. But since the biggest thing that you can do is spend them on rivens, like veiled rivens, there is a cap. Like, if DE wanted to get more money out of me, they would uncap the riven slots. They could get thousands of P out of me right now if they just uncapped the riven slots. But I have been capped at 180 out of 180 since I hit MR30. So for people who are starting out, they're stuck at 15, or they really don't enjoy plat grinds, this is a big help. Definitely this is going to make, for those that do trading, this is going to make new weapons significantly cheaper. For weapons that are brand new that come out, the rivens for them will be significantly cheaper, because the people that are good at unlocking rivens, and I would put myself in that category, will then have a shit ton of them. Where before you would see people buying rivens for like 30, 40, 50p veiled when a new riven came out, because people just want to burn through rivens. And if they get 4 melee and then they transmute it, they just want to unlock that. So you can unlock 50 to 60 rivens in like 2-3 hours, barely trying. This is definitely going to make this sort of stuff much nicer. So I could see riven prices dropping on a new weapon, because people will just have stockpiles, which I don't see anything wrong with. Definitely would lower the barrier to entry, but it's just, for somebody like me, where I'm capped on 180 rivens, I'm at 181 out of 180, and I've got like 2,200 riven slivers. Because you used to be able to farm them significant. Like, the meta for a while was doing what? Interceptions for like 2 hours? And you would get like 400 to 500 riven slivers with drop chance boosters. You would run quarter cages, dome 2 of the interception nodes, and then core cage and kill as long as you could, because interceptions are so heavily weighted for Eximus units. But anyway, that's a bit of a rant. This is an overall positive. I see it making riven significantly more accessible, significantly more plentiful, and I see that as an overall positive, considering this is the most gotcha shit in the game. Next. Last gasp. Meter starts at 0 instead of 5 seconds. Drain only starts after a few seconds. We'll have to see how that plays out. I never really had an issue with this. But I could see this starting at 0 and drain only starts after a few seconds. I could see this ending up being a slight nerf, where the Eximus kills fills it to 100% instantly. That's obviously something we didn't have before. That's a plus. Enemy kill refills by 30%. Again, pardon. This was not really something I had an issue with. Like, there were times where I'd go down, last gasp, would proc, I'd proc Void Strike and auto and instantly be back in my frame. Especially at lower levels. So I could see this only being an issue if people are separated out. Maybe you don't have any enemies around you. Maybe this biting you in the ass a bit. But it depends on what they mean by a few seconds. You had a bit of time before. But it depends on what a few seconds is. Okay, next thing. Change to discourage mindless use of AoE. I got... my dudes and dudettes, and like the 160-year-old lady that watches me in Russia. I appreciate you. This gameplay they showed triggered the shit out of me. I understand it's a testing, a person that does testing trying to show an interaction, but man, this was a bad representation of what people are actually using with this. This is absolutely positively not how people use AoE. So let's go to the quality of life changes. Addressing things that automate, dominate, or disrupt the game. Man, they applied these words incorrectly. That automate the game, listen, that should strictly be applied to macros. But what they were considering automate was more specifically Wukong. And Wukong, as strong as he is, as much of a meme the clone is, the clone does not automate the game. It's a very, very good unit, but it 100% does not automate the game. It kills. That's all it does. It's not running spy missions for you. It's not hacking shit. It's not collecting air supplies. It's not doing any of that stuff. Disrupt. Now the dominate. Listen, y'all control the balancing. I don't want to hear about something dominating the game. You could just run buffs and debuffs faster. Like you did it with the Brahma. Just start adjusting base values. Oh damn, this weapon is absolutely busted. Okay, let's take 10 damage off of its base damage and just slowly tune it down instead of completely rebalancing the fucking weapon. Just start slowly tuning the weapon. Nobody's going to care if you tune something down by 5%. Nobody's going to give a shit. But dominate, I think that's a bit excessive considering they should be product testing these. The dominate portion of this passed the testers. So I don't want to hear about something dominating something if the person is genuinely not playing the game and they're doing nothing but bullet jumping into walls for 6 hours straight. That's not how people play the game. They're testing for like map holes and stuff. I get that. But occasionally run a 30-minute survival with the boys in the office. Or the girls too, whoever the hell plays. Just run a 30-minute survival and theory craft or something. See what the meta builds are. And load them up onto your frames and learn how to play them. And see what people are doing. Why do they want it? You know, you can just play your game. Don't always test walls for like if people can jump out of the map. Disrupt. I think this is a relative term. Obviously, they had a point. But in terms of disrupting the game, their point was more about like new player experiences. And I think them nerfing this and then on top of it adding steel path relics, I think was a little bit short-sighted. They should have just added the steel path relics. Because if everybody that's strong here, because their specific example was people running a lith relic and people my rank running around with AoEs, and they didn't even bring up like Titania with what it was, I forget the ability. The Gauss helmet. They complained about the Brahma and didn't bring up Titania with the Gauss helmet. Okay, like I think this is a bit short-sighted on this part to specifically bring it up like they did. Balance some nerfs around it and then instantly add a place which would remove the problem in the low-level missions. Listen, as soon as they add steel path relics, I don't know about you guys, but I'm never running a level 10 lith relic again. Like, why wouldn't I do a steel path relic? So the disruption, the answer was clearly add steel path relics, but then they did the nerfs for this anyway. They separated the two groups. New players can't do steel path. So why balance around this if you remove the problem? It didn't make a lot of sense to me. Ammo system changes, I get it. For those that didn't watch the stream, they're getting rid of 2 of the 4 ammo types. The ammo has more. Each ammo drop has more ammo in it, though they drop fewer times. For those that didn't watch this, until people figure out like a happy medium, they specifically said it's gonna buff the ammo efficiency for bullet hose weapons, where they have large ammo capacities, and it's going to hurt weapons with small ammo pools. Basically the Brahma. Okay. So you're going to get more ammo back, but if you are running around with a Brahma and you're trying to run something that doesn't have like an ammo capacity mod on it, you could literally run out of ammo. The only thing I don't like about this is its multiple nerfs at the same time, effectively targeting a single weapon. Let's be honest, they went after the Brahma heavily on this. Even though the Tsar has a bigger ammo pool. Okay? The Tsar has a bigger ammo pool. It has multiple reloads, not a ton, but it has multiple reloads. So it's gonna have time to go from like one room to the next. So it's not gonna affect the Tsar. If you're somebody playing the Riven market, this means Tsar Rivens are gonna be worth more. Because the Brahma is still gonna have its ammo capacity that it does. So even with Arcane Merciless, you're going to have 10 ammo. You could, in lower level missions, it's not going to be an issue because you're still going to be blowing up 20, 30 units at once, right? But as things get higher, and Merciless stacks do start to fall off a tiny bit, you can gain them back. But as units, if you're trying to get your Merciless stacks up at the beginning of a mission, you could run out of ammo now. And they're designing it that way. And that doesn't sound like a really good experience. Like, making a single weapon irrelevant is a little steep to me. But it's not going to affect the Tsar nearly as much because it just has more ammo reserves. So basically, fuck the Brahma. AoE headshots. To be honest, this is a fair tune. AoEs no longer affect headshots. I'm definitely going to test if this applies to things like the Scourge headshot bonus. But I think this was fair game. I have no real complaints on it. There are only a couple things where I think the weapon, dealing with like the older weapons, like one of the videos I made was the lens. In order to be relevant, you had to use the headshots on the AoE to get like relevant damage numbers. So I think this is something where it's just it's a fair tune, but as with most things, strong weapons aren't going to care, and old weapons are going to get hurt, right? Like, this is something where it's like, why couldn't they just make it so the grenades that blow apart from the main explosive on the Brahma can't crit or something, you know? Like, they could have done something more specific if they're having an issue with the Brahma itself. But maybe it's some spaghetti code thing. But it's a fair tune if you're targeting the Brahma. But that being said, the Brahma isn't the only fucking AoE weapon. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes. They claimed it was only like a single-digit percent difference, but I doubt they were trying to force it. Because I know, I'm not going to link it, but in one of the videos that I did, it was the lens one with the Nidus, where I was talking about like slash procs and whatever. I was forcing headshots. Okay, so there's definitely a build there that's going to be affected. For the Brahma, it would be like an alt fire build. But anyway, Prime Firestorm, Fulmination reduced. Man, I agree with the Firestorm. It was getting a little silly. I don't know if I agree with the primed fulmination. Is anybody really concerned with the amount of kill potential and kill efficiency you get from pistols right now? Unless this is lining up to like a new meta pistol that's coming around the corner. I get Firestorm because of the Tsar and the Brahma, but we already have multiple nerfs to those weapons in this same patch. This is not one nerf. Okay. The Brahma's losing AoE, because if you have the mod, of course you're running Prime Firestorm. AoE headshots. The holster speed is nice. The Brahma's now going to have ammo issues. And there was another thing that affected it. I forget what it was. The Brahma is getting hit with multiple small nerfs, but in true DE fashion, instead of literally just reducing the goddamn damage on the weapon, okay, just hit the stats on the weapon. That's all you have to do. If you're worried about the damage that weapon is doing, why are you nerfing every AoE? It makes no sense to me. Why just reduce the base damage on it? Or reduce the crit, or reduce the crit damage, or whatever the hell works. Or, I don't know, reduce the AoE on that weapon. I don't understand why they can't just do that. Why are they fucking with the mods? This makes no sense. But at least it's a fair tune. Like, I get it. But the only weapons that really abused Firestorm currently, September 1st, the Tsar and the Brahma are the issue right now. So it makes no sense why they aren't nerfing those weapons specifically. But here we go again, going after mods instead of the problem. Just nerf the goddamn weapon. Just move on with it. Steel Path Relics, this is an overall positive. If you're MR20 and above, you should be running Steel Path all the time. Unless it's like a really troublesome map where you're just having issues with it, or it's like, oh, you want to play with other people and they can't do Steel Path, then obviously don't do Steel Path. And I could see some Zeraman missions being troublesome just because of spawn rates, not because the enemies are difficult to kill. Evaluate and do more if needed in future hotfix. Overall positive, means the developer isn't leaving. Okay, so that's the AoE stuff. Let's see. Why change it? How automated is it? How passive can you play? Again, oh, this was the... okay, so they're talking about addressing things that automate, dominate, or disrupt the game. Okay, so this was part of the gameplay that they showed. How strong is it compared to alternatives? It's a bit silly. I'm not going to bitch about it. Steel Path Void Fishers. Okay. Firestorm is going to 44% max rank. Prime Firestorm. Headshot precision weapon headshot multiplier goes to 3. Awesome. You get 1 steel essence for doing a relic on Steel Path relics or Void Fishers. I see this as an overall win. Wukong, okay. Damage reduced by 50%. Whatever. Damage on marked targets increased. Yeah, okay, dude. Celestial Twin now uses your ammo. Okay. Can stagger himself. That's going to be pretty funny. Except Prime Firestorm. Or Prime Surefooted's a thing. Primal Fury. I would be interested to see how much of a Wukong 4 build comes out. Range growth, but not as much as old Wukong. I don't see how this was ever an issue. I mean, I understand it got pretty insane. But the old Wukong wasn't ridiculous. It had more to do with how the range mods affected where it was percent based. Where you got the insane range on melee, but that's just not the case anymore. Legitimately, they could throw the old Wukong scaling for his melee back on, and for those that don't know, Wukong's 4 used to scale in terms of range with combo counter. And the issue is the range mods were percent based. So his range on his 4 got, pardon my language, fucking insane at times. But this was, I don't know why they're worried about it considering the old meta. It doesn't exist anymore. Small vortex at the end of forward combo. I love the idea of the CC. It depends on obviously if it's a force proc. And depends on how big range-wise the vortex is. If it's like a 6-meter vortex, cool beans. The new frame, Styanax. Discount 300. Not a fan of the anime. It was nice though, well done. It just seemed not relevant to anything in Warframe. Free Styanax to play. There you go. Yeah, this is over. For the next 2 weeks, or for the first 2 weeks after Veilbreaker, Styanax is free. Make sure to get that. Light. Yeah, it was pretty cool. 3 alt helmets. Can't wait to get that from Nightwave. Prex card, whatever. Styanax will launch with both a Laverian and voidshell skin. I'm not really sure what they're particularly referencing with the Laverian skin. I mean, obviously, we know what the voidshells are. Signature spear gun, okay. Base damage is kind of low. Ammo pickup. That's a pretty interesting stat. So I guess that's a stat now. Crit chance is 26, crit multiplier is 2.2, status is 24, and it is 60% puncture weighted with a base damage of 100. Looks like it might be a corrosive build. Abilities. Okay, 1 is Axios Javelin. Throw a spear. If the spear impales an enemy and hits a surface, create a vortex. Honestly, looks pretty cool. But again, Eximus units exist. So creates a vortex. Maybe that's their new thing. But eventually you're just fighting fighting vortexes. Fighting Eximus, so this is a limited buff. Thorough Strike, a shield slam that cuts armor and shields in half, then deals damage. Sort of like a little AoE fan. I liked it. Cuts armor and shields in half. I wonder what the scaling is on this. If you can scale this shred. They really didn't show it. Buff nearby allies, passive energy regen, chain shields, and kill assist. Rally point could be cool. To be honest, we don't have too many general use AoE buffs where they give like lots of little stuff like energy regen, shield regen, gain. It depends on what else is on this, right? Like most of the time we have like an AoE damage buff, right? Or you have like an AoE stealth, like with Octavia, or like Ash's Shroud, right? It's like a single purpose buff. If this is like a feel good, super weak, like Gauss 4, like a Gauss red line for everybody, in terms of like it does a bunch of little stuff, this could be pretty cool. Obviously, maybe it's a support frame. We don't really know. Jump up and the final stand. I don't like this. The idea of hovering mid-air, attacking a single enemy while there's a bunch of Eximus units running around. It's screaming something kill me. Unless there was something they didn't bring up, like maybe his the extra guys that show up that throw spears, right? Unless they have like Mirage's clones, they have a higher threat level than you. I could see that potentially making this safer. But they weren't trying to show like a min-maxed build, and I just didn't see a lot of damage on it. But that being said, the one thing I didn't really see, oh, the passive. Shields over shields increase the crit value of weapons. Double bonus for spear guns. Man, that depends on what that bonus is, but that's a pretty good passive. If you can keep your shields up, right? So if you're not using, I don't know, shield gating or going against strong enemies where they one tap your shield, I could see this being pretty beneficial, right? The one thing when I saw his build or his gameplay is I didn't, though each ability had like one or two things that it did, right? Like the spear is the thrown spear, has some conditionals. If the spear impales an enemy and hits a surface, it creates a vortex. The two cuts armor and shields in half, then deals damage, right? Rally point, buff nearby allies, energy regen, gain shields on kill assist. I didn't see a particularly large amount of synergy. Not saying they're supposed to be, but I had always, like, when you think, like, as much as she's considered a meme, when you have something like Ureli, right? Ureli, as much of a joke as she is, and she can't do late game content incredibly well without using, like, really odd builds or like a camp build or something. The one thing you can't say about Ureli is that her abilities don't flow together. Everything stacks. Like, say with Ureli's one, those little bubbles. You can use the bubbles, CC enemies, cast your 4 onto those enemies, and it refreshes the amount of bubbles that you can cast. So I think it's like 15 bubbles, right? You cast your 15 bubbles, so you quick cast 3 times, hit everything with your 4. The bubbles get washed, and then you can refresh and cast 15 more bubbles for a total of 30. And they speed up with range. It's kind of weird. They get faster with range. So if you run a range Ureli and you're not dealing with Eximus units, those little bastards move really fucking fast eventually. And I didn't see that sort of like balanced interaction or like interaction with anything else involving this. I was kind of hoping there would be some interaction between these abilities. Like, okay, so you have Final Stand. Like, does hitting something with a 1 and having him in the vortex give bonus damage to final stand. You couldn't see how much damage it was doing really, because you don't know what we didn't know what the build was on the frame yet, right? Rally point, it gave like a little bit of shields back, but we don't know what the scaling is. Like they didn't show like this is what 100 power strength is, or maybe it's something weird like it scales off of duration or range or whatever. It probably scales off of strength. Don't get me wrong, but we just don't know yet, right? So the interactions for this, each thing seems sort of like blocked off, and I genuinely thought with Gyre, like Ureli and Gyre, I thought we were moving away from that. Like having like single use abilities, right? And I'm kind of disappointed. Because like when you think about it, Ureli has like a couple of interactions, right? Where like they sort of layer. Like even Merlina, which is kind of a joke. But if you're on Merlina, it allows you to cast your 4 without stopping. Right? Because you're on something that's floating. It makes sense. But there's that interaction there. There's that little bit of layering. And I just don't see it with this. Because like when you think about the last frame, Gyre, a ton of stuff interacted with each other. And I just don't see it with this frame. The gameplay that we saw, I just didn't see it. Where there was that layering, even the little bit of interaction. Like say like Tharos Strike or whatever the 2 is, the cuts armor and shield in half. Like it would have been freaking awesome if you cast 2 and 4 at the same time. If it provides, if it provided 100% armor strip on your 4, right? Like since they're going down this whole redoing armor strip thing, I just didn't see those little baby interactions that allow stuff to work together and flow well. It just seems like you run over, you smash somebody in the face with 1. If they hit a wall, there's a vortex. But Eximus units exist. I didn't see the combination or interactions between the abilities. So I don't know how much I'm going to play this guy. Cool concept. You can rate how they did the concept on your own. But the fact is the hoplites, I mean, it's a cool idea, but think about like the movie 300. It wasn't too far off in terms of like the idea that these guys work together. Like this guy would have been part of an army. It would make sense if like his shield, what was that weapon? Oh come on, Tile Rigor, the Akambrug. Okay, the Akambrug has that unique mod to it where it absorbs damage from your allies. If you block, or if your enemy takes damage, it converts some of the damage that they take to you, right? I don't see that sort of stuff here. This guy is supposed to be fighting as an army unit. There's supposed to be hundreds of these guys working together. Performing actions is 1 because it's like you're bigger part of a whole. I just didn't see that part of it. They were like, oh, 300, you jump, you spear shit in the face, space ninja spearman sort of thing. I just didn't see the combination like rally point, right? Couldn't this be something where you jump to an enemy's aid or an ally's aid or something and provide like an AoE when you jump on them, where it refreshes their health, gives them energy regen, shield regen, or and like a slight damage buff or whatever? Like there's some things you could have done to go with the theme of this enemy, or the theme of this warframe. You know what I mean? I just didn't see the interaction. So if you like it, you like it. Fuck my opinion, right? Okay. General top. I'll quit talking about that. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not going to give this a rating But it's just I was genuinely hoping we would see more of those smaller interactions that allow frames to flow well. And I just didn't see it with this. So I can't give it a rating. Obviously, it looks cool. I don't know about the regular helmet or the alt helmet, right? But the regular one looked cool. Obviously, everyone loves Spartans, right? Raids and trials, nothing to share until veilbreaker Deviri is completed. TM soon. Not going to be a while, so not going to talk about cross play, cross save. Test is going to be announced soon. They're getting close. Cross save will follow once cross play is stable. Currently the biggest technical priority. I know people are freaking out about cross play. I genuinely think cross save is the bigger deal. Because I can't tell you how many people in my clan, in my alliance, have an Xbox account, a PlayStation account, a PC account, and like a Wii account or whatever the hell it is. A Switch. And they're all like MR20 plus. That person should be playing one account. I would put personally cross save at a significantly higher priority than cross play. Obviously getting the player base up is going to be super helpful. But Jesus Christ, listen. This is not a brag, but there's no way I can say this without sounding like an asshole. I have put thousands of fucking dollars into my PC. At no point in time do I want to be playing stuff that an Xbox player is having trouble coordinating themselves with. I do not want my gameplay balanced around a fucking Xbox. Okay? If I wanted to do Xbox stuff, I would have bought a fucking Xbox. But I don't even own a TV. Okay? I get all of my news, my TV shows, everything from my computer. Now, I know a lot of people have TVs. I am not one of them. I haven't watched TV in months, and if you exclude going over to a friend's house and watching like anime and movies over there, I haven't watched TV in probably 8 years. Okay? My last TV was a 25-inch Zenith tube TV from the fucking 90s. Okay? I am just not a TV person. I'm not. So, boomer take, there you go. But, yeah, listen, I've got a 12900 Intel, whatever the hell it is. I've got a 2080 Ti graphics card. I've got DDR5 current next gen, whatever the hell you call it, parts. I've got DDR5 RAM. My RAM costs more than an Xbox. At no point in time do I want my gameplay throttled by Xbox gameplay. Okay? I don't care. Could you imagine being a PC player and having your gameplay, or an Xbox player? Let's do Xbox. Xbox players, the three of you that watch my shit, okay? Do you want your gameplay appropriate when you do, like, you get your coordination up, you're flying through a level, you're void striking, you're going through, you're blowing through the level, you got you really got it tuned in, and you're having to wait on a cell phone player? Okay? Do you really want that to be your gameplay? Because let's be honest, this stuff, I know, as like somebody who's a little bit older, like I'm in my 30s, your gameplay is going to be limited to the lowest common fucking denominator. So I don't like the idea of crossplay, because I've seen where this goes, and I've never seen somebody do it well. Actually, that's not true. You know who did crossplay well? You know who did crossplay well? Hearthstone. There you go. So unless they're coming out with the Deviri Paradox card game, I don't want to play. I don't want crossplay. Sorry. We're getting close. Me too. Prime Resurgence. God damn it. Test cluster slowed down when updates started releasing on all platforms. Okay, yeah. Okay, they are looking into breaking more content to the test cluster, which is a logistics problem. It's not mentioned here, but they mentioned it on the stream. There's going to be a little bit of a bumpy road as far as what we care about. It's just new management getting used to different things. Rebecca finally took over as creative director, right? So she's having to be brought up to speed on quite a bit. So there's going to be a little bit of growing pains. In true DE Steve fashion, this is total bro science. At no point in time do I have the skinny on this. At no point in time do I have any sort of hidden knowledge. But I'm going to fucking guess Rebecca was given a bare bones, here's how you survive, here's the buttons you have to press to make sure the game stays on, explanation of how to do her job. I am guessing at no point in time was she actually allowed to job shadow and absorb all the troubleshooting that the old guard knew how to do. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that woman is probably fucking panicking right now when new stuff comes up, because where the old guard knew just from memory, oh, this is how you fix something, I'm willing to bet that small things, game design decisions, the logic behind it, she would have done her best over the years, because let's be honest, Rebecca has had an amazing career ascendance to her current position. Didn't she start as an intern? But I am willing to say at no point in time was Rebecca ever properly trained to run a fucking company. Rebecca has been the face of Warframe for a long time. And the reason why she has been so good at it is because the burden of running the game has not been hers. So just from like a one human to another sort of understanding of how those things go, I have no insight into how Warframe runs its stuff, but after seeing and dealing with lots of management issues, I would expect to see radical shifts in how Rebecca views things. And as somebody who got put in a similar position years and years and years ago, my heart really goes out to her. 'Cause it fucking sucks. But I think she has a lot to learn, but I think her goal is pretty clear. And I sincerely hope she has people she can talk to. Not implying I need to be one of them. That is not where I'm going with this. But it seems like pardon. Pablo has a damn good head on his shoulder. I think that one second. I could see Pablo and Rebecca being a very, very effective dynamic duo. God damn, I'm choking on air. Okay. I have no water to drink. It sucks. So as far as like the new crew, good to see you. You were sort of part of the dev stream. Obviously, we'll get to know you sooner or later. Um, Megan, Rebecca, Pablo. Going to be that dynamic trio. Rebecca was effectively the face of the company for years. And I think one of the frustrating things, going on a more reflective note, and I'm going to try not to make this an incendiary take, genuinely. But I know one of the frustrations of being a Warframe player for me over these years has always been the general feeling that Warframe is constantly on the cusp of being the greatest game ever made and them continuously fucking it up. Like, Warframe has gotten more or less $100 million a year to play with in terms of microtransactions. And now they've decided to branch off into this new game, Shadowframe or whatever the hell it is. Good luck to those guys. But I hope Jesus. I hope the new guard brings in new innovations as well as Rebecca's ability to communicate with the community. I hope because the community has gotten older. There's a large population of young people, and then there's a big valley, and then there's a bunch of old fucks that never left. And I'm pretty sure I'm in the old fuck category. I've met some people who are way older than me, but like, I'm in my mid-30s. So I'm definitely not the 18-year-old category, right? Warframe has always been one of those games that's constantly on the cusp of being the best game ever made. But it's never been able to get it there because it always felt like when talking and referencing people from the game and actually communicating with them, it always felt like you're talking to somebody that already knows they've won the argument. So if they know they're right, the only thing they're doing is just trying to get you to go away. And the exception to that was like D.E. Megan, D.E. Rebecca, D.E. Taylor. D.E. Taylor. They're absolute sweethearts. And the fact is that if the community team hadn't been what it was, the old developers would have run the game into the ground. So the fact is that I'm hoping now that it's a community, a creative director with a massive amount of community experience, I am hoping there is some framework behind the scenes to provide the structure to keep the company running effectively, but the ship gets steered in a more community-driven direction, because the fact is Warframe players know what they fucking want. Okay, we know what we want. We're not getting it, though. We get something close or like a half-assed measure, or their idea would be like, oh, we want like the Deviri paradox years ago, right? And they came out with like the Lich system, but it wasn't really what they claimed it was. It was like, oh, you're supposed to have like your own nemesis, but they can't call it the nemesis system because that's copyrighted. So they came up with like a half-assed measure instead of spinning it off into something unique to Warframe. So like I was excited during the new war when they showed the new map, right? Because I'm thinking like, oh, we're gonna get an area to like start over with, or maybe it's gonna be like a parallel universe. Well, that didn't happen. They could have had the star chart with 3 nodes on it. Why did they have all that other shit there, right? Like, what's the point in having all of those nodes blocked off? It always seemed like we were getting half measures, and I'm hoping they focus more on, like, dividing up what their community is, and the fact that you have new players, you have players that are, like, 0 to 5, who are brand new, your first week players. Then you have your first year players generally, where they're like, I would say MR16 would be an easily doable, say, first couple of months, which would be like your teenagers or your adolescents. And then you would have like your young adults, which would be like your low 20s. And then you have your old guys, which are all capped at LR2 or whatever the highest rank is. And just give us some place to go. And view it as like stepping up a ladder, right? Like climbing into maturity. Because once you get done with the game, once you farmed everything, my dudes, as somebody who's currently in that condition, let me tell you, you sit around bullet jumping around your fucking orbiter like you were when you were MR10. There's nothing else to do, right? Like, even I'm making YouTube videos. So, I think that's probably the tamest hot take I could give, but to talk about like dev streams, my overall view about them, and I've pulled up this very special GIF, right? My dudes, they're fucking ads. Okay? They're ads. I got asked a couple weeks ago. No, it wasn't a couple weeks ago. Last weekend, what the best frame is in Warframe, and my official answer, and anybody that tells you something different, let me tell you, they're full of shit. The best thing you can pilot, you can fly around in, the best thing that you can operate in Warframe is your fucking operator. Everything else in the game is shit. Okay? The best thing in the game is your operator. It can do all of the content. You might have to pad through it. But your operator can do all content. And most of the time at like higher level, max level stuff, especially in like disruptions, do you think I'm running from enemy to enemy a lot of the times? No, if I'm running like a super strong frame build, I've dump statted survivability, which means I'm operating to the next the next demolisher. I'm not bullet jumping, but it's too sweaty, right? Like, you just take invisibility. But just keep in mind, the strongest thing in the game is your operator. Okay, so like, calm down for my clan mates and my alliance mates. There is no frame in the game that is worth spending plat, like saving up and spending plat on. Because like the strongest Warframe in the game, let's be honest, it's Octavia. If you had to limit it to like to Warframe, the answer is Octavia. In almost every circumstance, just because of what her kit is. With very few exceptions, is it something else. Invisibility turns the AI off, causes them to kill themselves in game. Damage bonus, multi-shot bonus, AoE stealth, right? Like, the answer is almost always Octavia. So I just need you guys to calm down. And the dev stream, every single dev stream, every single one without question, every single one is a fucking ad. Because let's be honest, how many, for people who have been playing Warframe for a while, how many dev streams have they done showing content, showing showing a new game mode, showing a new weapon that doesn't come out for years? The Ghoul Saw. Okay, how many years did it take for the Ghoul Saw to come out? The Duviri Paradox. When did we see that? Was it 2018, 2019? Bro, we're almost in 2023. Okay. Wild. Like, just just relax. Warframe is supposed to be a good time. The best thing about Warframe has always been the player base. It has never been the content. The best thing about the game has been the people that play it, the people that like grindy games. They are almost always down to farm some shit, help them farm shit, maybe they help you farm shit. You know, like that's always been the best part. It's never been the fucking game. It's never been the game. Even like years ago, you would go sit in a tower survival, right? Like a void survival with tower keys, and you'd sit there for like a couple hours, right? And it was about hanging out with the people. You're not super stressed trying to kill shit, right? Like it's the people. It's not the game. It's the people you play with. So just calm down on the dev streams. It's always a lukewarm take. Nobody's gonna big brain a dev stream shit. I think the closest thing I ever got to like a big brain take was when I realized during the New War dev stream that they were gonna redo the open worlds. Like how lukewarm is that though, right? Like that's not even close to a big brain take. Like the dev streams are ads, so just chill. You're seeing they're communicating with the group and everybody in like Twitch chat and like YouTube chat. It like YouTube chat and Twitch chat are like the laugh track of marketing. Okay, you're not really contributing. Somebody gets plat, and they pick their favorite comment out of the peanut gallery and comment about it. Like nobody is ever going to seriously talk about something. Um, and I've heard about some people getting banned for dumb stuff. Like it's just chill. It's cool to see what they do. It's definitely 1,000 times better than the next company, but every take for every dev stream is my dudes. It's an ad. But anyway, I think this is about as much of a dev stream breakdown and all future dev streams. They're fucking ads. Chill out. They tweak. They do it badly. Nobody ever taught these people to change one thing at a time. And for some reason, nerfing base stats is fucking impossible. Like, why are they nerfing every single AoE weapon when the issue's the fucking Brahma? Okay, just nerf the Brahma. Just knock down. Just take off like 2 crit chance, right? Just take off like 2 crit chance and like 0.2 crit chance or like 2 crit chance and like 0.2 crit damage and like lower the AoE on it. Just knock it down a little bit, but keep the mods the same, because when you mess with the mods, you mess with every fucking weapon that equips that mod. And a lot of those don't need to be nerfed. Okay? Like who's the Chad that's going around using the base Tonkor? What Chad, what legend of this world is walking around with the balls knowing that there's a Kuva Tonkor out there and going, no, fuck that. I've got 100 Forma into this fucking Tonkor. I'm doing a level cap run with it. You can't even run the gas build anymore, okay? Like, so just nerf the weapon. That's the problem. It's frustrating. They don't get it. They're never going to. Just knock the base damage down on the fucking weapon and call it a day. Because the issue is the base damage and how it interacts with Slash. That makes the weapon so fucking strong. Not the headshots. They even said it themselves. Oh, it's only like a 2 to 4%. Okay, then why fucking do it? Why do it? But every AoE net weapon, instead of the 2 that are the fucking issue. I mean, is anybody really worried about the lens? Like, really? Is anybody worried about the lens damage? I did that video I got like 150k slash. I think I got a double headshot for like for a million, like one enemy out of a bunch of infested. Was anybody really intimidated about that? Scared some people, reported me, right? This man's doing too much damage to chargers. No, it's not every AoE weapon. It's two. Why are we nerfing everything? And what, you have the one tenant weapon, the rocket launcher. I forget its name. That one. Oh, the AoE is too big. Okay, then nerf the fucking AoE on them. Stop fucking with the mods. Like, nobody's worried about like the Scourge AoE or the Tonkor AoE or the Lens AoE. No, it's like 3 fucking weapons. It's 2 main weapons, the Brahma and the Tsar, and then you have the God, what is it called? Hold on. Tip of the tongue. What's this thing gonna? The envoy. Is this causing a panic for people? Right. This is causing people to freak out. I gotta form some stuff. Right. This is the game breaking thing. I mean, obviously there's a cold build, right? Or a toxin build. I haven't done it yet. Don't at me. But like this is the stuff that's bothering people. And like why does the AoE on this need, like, what weapon is making things like, okay, so you have like what, the Spore Lacer, right? Killstream Haymaker, Spore Lacer. This is OP. The Zacti Prime, doing level caps with it. Bro, I did a level cap with the Zacti Prime. I guarantee you, the damage this thing contributes after like 5,000 is fucking 0, okay? The AoE on the compressor bubbles, that's killing people. 2 OP. The Stug. The AoE on the Stug. Did the Stug have to be nerfed? No, it didn't. But it did. It did get nerfed. When you nerf mods, you nerf everything that uses that mod. Right? So, like, why nerf everything? It just doesn't make any sense why they keep nerfing the mods. I get the logic behind what they said. Okay, cool. But, like, pistols? Come on. There wasn't a single one that was breaking the fucking game with Prime Fulmination. Okay? Like, it's like a handful of primaries. Okay? Handful of primaries. But apparently the Stug... The Stug was too powerful. Epitaph priming, right? 2 OP, the priming. Yeah, I didn't even use it. I mean, obviously it's part of like an optimized build. But anyway, that's my my incendiary take on modding. It's dumb as hell. It makes no sense why they would go after the mods. But there you go, devstream. 130 who gives a shit review. Their ads. Be chill, my dudes. Warframe is about hanging out with people. It's about chilling. Grinding some games out. And not thinking about your day. Okay? It's just, you zone out. You get it all done, right? Look. You get it all done. Progress. Look, nothing. 679 out of 679. I'm just missing the Founders Pack. That's what Warframe is about. Getting that number up as high as possible. But stop nerfing the Stug. You're hurting its feelings. Okay? It's got base damage. And it had a little bit of AoE. But y'all won't let it chill with these nerfs. It's not that powerful. Okay? I know people can do meme serum builds for level caps. But stop nerfing the Stug. You're hurting its feelings. Alright, y'all. Be chill. Have a blessed day.